Yeah, I'm about to go. Hey, welcome to another episode of Gorilla Truth. I am your host and speaker, Marlon Brand, here with my boy Jeff Klein. We about to get it popping tonight. But before we get into it, I want to just give you one of our sponsors for this show. This show is sponsored and brought to you by Easy Player. What is Easy Player? Easy Player is a smooth online player where you could just go there and get TV for free all day long, every day, 24/7, free TV. Go check it out. You could download it on your mobile phone. You could do it on your tablet. You can even do it on your own personal PC. But like I said, it's cool. They got their own cop station there. They got a station called Cocoa Butter where they show a lot of African American type led shows. Shut Up and Rap, a lot of hip hop shows and stuff on here. So go check it out whenever you get a chance. Super easy player. Really, really cool. So now back to Gorilla Truth. So Jeff, what's going on, man? How's you been? It's been a minute since we've been here, but we're back, and I'm just excited to be back. There's been some things taking place in the news all around, and the new thing right now is the new talking points that I'm starting to hear now is the Asian hate. Everybody's talking about the Asians. Who's hating on the Asians? But there's some serious things that's really taking place, so I don't want to make light of the situation. I'm just excited to be back. We've been gone for about a couple of weeks now, and we just been getting some things together, getting everything back in perspective, and now we're here.
It's good to be back.
Definitely, man. Definitely, definitely,
And we
definitely.
missed there's a lot of stuff. I mean, things that are going on since we last came on. But there's some definitely, like you said, some serious topics that we want to get into tonight. And just wanted to give everybody a shout out. Thanks for tuning in.
Yes,
And
yes,
let's get into it.
definitely, definitely. So I'm gonna pull up this article here, just kind of just to kind of play off of this. I know you're gonna kind of set it up. I just want to throw you the assist right here real quick and just it's the article that actually took place with the guy that actually stumped out the elderly Asian woman uh and the building worker suspended for and the guy who was suspended for not actually helping, which I thought was absolutely crazy in itself because correct me if I'm wrong, right? But if it is anything happening at anybody's job site, right? And it has to do anything with like violence or something serious happening. From what I recall, I've never been told or even been instructed to ever jump in. It was always leave that to like the authorities, go and call the police or something. But in this situation, it was really interesting because this guy, the door guy, was actually suspended, and I just like, well, I mean, this guy was really did was getting out of prison. Remember, he had just got out of prison for murdering his mother, but his mother to death. Just did 25 years in prison, and and here he is out here stabbing or kicking a woman to death, and it was very, very sad. And like I said, not to make light of the situation, but we want to talk about the whole Asian hate, what's been taking place with this talking point, and what is your perspective on it? What are some of the things you've been gathering? And I'm going to be giving some of my perspective on it. So go ahead, Jeff. I'll let you go
Well,
ahead and lead
yeah,
into what you were going to lead
I'm
into.
not sure. I just want to kind of clarify. I didn't really read the whole article that you have up, but I know that the doorman's not a security guard, so I don't understand. I think a lot of this comes down to um, fear, and you see a lot of companies are just doing things that they normally wouldn't do. They wouldn't do that 2 years ago, a year ago, that they would
Mm-hmm.
actually just fire somebody or let somebody go. I know that the doorman in New York, they have a union. That guy's not going to probably won't be fired. It's one of the strongest unions in New York City. They make good money. Um, So it's very hard
Yeah.
to get fired as a doorman. But I think that it is a show, to show everybody that the actual building or the company that owns the building won't put up with it. Like as if people would start to boycott their building. And so there's a lot of fear going on. I mean,
Mm.
you heard about what I don't know
Yeah.
if you heard about what's going on with Atlanta, because they did some voting things. I know it's kind of off the topic, but it's underneath the same kind of theme, is wherever there is some kind of conflict that could be seen as racially motivated, um, they companies are just backing out. Coke is backing out and saying we're not going to do certain things in Atlanta. I mean in Georgia. I think there's like
Right.
three other major companies backing out of certain things, um, out of because they are saying, well, we don't want to be seen as we approve of what the Georgia government is doing. And since when did companies speak up for social issues? You know,
All of a sudden, right?
all
Yeah.
of a sudden, because they don't want to lose that income. They're not doing it because they feel like they need to stick up for an individual. They just see it, to me, they just see it as, let me protect my assets. And so we're going to
Yeah,
start to see a
exactly.
lot of this, and this kind of definitely kind of curtails right into the topic for tonight, which is the increase of Asian hate crimes, and how and why is it happening now compared to why wasn't it focused on 2 years ago, 3 years ago? Why wasn't it focused on 10 years ago when it was at all-time highs? Nobody was saying anything in the
Hmm.
early 2000s about Asian hate crime that I know of. It wasn't on the spectrum, or on the front line of media. So, but
Right.
before I get into it, I do want to kind of just talk about a concept that I believe will tie everything together. And what is happening is this. I found this guy on Twitter,
Hmm.
and his name is. I'm going to share the Twitter um, article kind of
Okay.
thing, and it is. So I don't. A lot of
I got you right here.
people. Can you see it?
Yep, it's coming up right here.
Okay. So this guy Haywood Floyd, I don't know who he is. Didn't even look at him. Look
Hmm.
to see who he was or anything like that. He's got a couple thousand, 1,200 followers. Didn't seem like it was like a big guy to me. But what he was talking about is where this, and I hate to or talk about the coin phrase, because I don't really um, believe that what it started out to be is what it is now, but the cancel culture and the phenomenon of Chinese cultural revolution. And what he suggests is that the cancel culture that we see today is the same type of situation that happened in East Germany, and it's called Stasi. And he goes through and just kind of lists what they did, and basically they used this process that we see is happening now. They used it, so instead of going out and arresting people, and people who were influencers,
Yeah.
that were influencing against the communist um, dictatorship or
Mhm.
socialist dictatorship in Eastern Germany, or Western Germany, and they were basically going and putting together these fake propaganda. They were making lies up or telling truths, or half truths to make the government, the people, actually start to go against certain groups of people or certain ideologies or certain companies. And they figured out a very quick way so that they weren't seen as the Gestapo going around arresting people, attacking people, and hauling them off to jail. They realized that they could cancel them out in a way that they would not have any power in the society through propaganda, through topics that they could put out there in the media
Yeah.
scene, um, and ruin certain groups' lives. And so this is one of the and there's links to it, and it's called and I'm just going to go back to the actual definition. So it's called, and I might be saying it wrong.
Mhm.
Zerstizang, whatever
Oh,
it is.
wow.
Um,
Yeah, right.
and basically, it goes through um, it's psychological warfare techniques used by the Ministry for State Security to repress political opponents in Eastern Germany during the 1970s and the 1980s. And you can, if you go through the points that they make in a lot of this stuff, you can go through, and I actually have, um, where's this? Oh, that's that. I actually have documents right here that go through and lay out exactly what it was and how they used it. And so I just, you know, um, and it kind of goes through who was using it, the Ministry of State Security, political and social conditions since the early 1970s, the Stasi, on the bias of change conditions for class struggle, sanctioned and reinforced their efforts for oppositional behaviors without the use of criminal law. So what they basically did was they took the power of law out
Mhm.
of the spectrum, and they replaced law with basically a, a, a cancel culture and this what we call wokeness.
Yeah.
um, and so at that moment everybody had to be woke because they didn't want to be canceled, and everybody, and even if they didn't agree with what was going on, they had to act or appear to agree because they didn't want to lose their power or
Mhm.
their status in the society.
Mhm.
And so they just looked for the next person to pick on, and it just became basically around the world, who whatever the next group was, how do we stir this up? How do we cancel this group out? Or how do we raise this group up over another group? um, so that so we can be seen as social justice and things like that. Okay, so I just
Yeah.
wanted to kind of um, break that down because I believe that a lot of what we're seeing now is they're taking a lot of that, um, what we see on media, social media, and politics right now. We're seeing that actually play out verbatim, step by step. And you could see it where people are so afraid to say anything. They're so afraid after something happens what to do. Like this doorman, they fired him. Like they're going to let this guy go
I
for
know.
watching a violent attack. I mean, this guy just got out of prison Was he supposed to put his life on the line?
Yeah.
And
And the crazy thing about it is, even before that, the guy, there was another incident that he went to another store, I guess, and he was already wielding a knife in another incident prior to even attacking that woman. So another guy came out and said he just seen him over there. So just imagine if that door guy would have went out there and tried to stop him or say anything, which you know it's it's two different ways you could look at it. You're being a coward, or are you really just looking, just protecting yourself? You have a family and stuff at home as well. You never really know what that guy, could have had on him, and you could have lost your life as well in that situation, which is really sad. And like you were saying, these different groups that are being created is only being created through the propagation of the media actually producing this hate and producing these different talking points, such as the talking point with the Asian hate. The Asian hate is very real, to a point to where the instances are real. I wouldn't try to make this uh umbrella type of situation where it's like something that we need to continue to put on the forefront, because there are a lot of issues that we could continue to put on the forefront. So I know when I see media sharing Asian hate over and over again, and I start seeing celebrities come out, and I'm starting to see articles and everything written on it, then I say, okay, my antennas go up. I start saying, hold up, all right, so what's going on? All right, what's the new thing? What are you guys trying to cover up? What are you trying to hide? What do I need to be prepared for? So like I said, not to say that these instances don't take place, but like I tell people all the time, there's 320 plus million people are in America. And media is never, see, what we have to understand is that media was never created to give you information that was beneficial to you. See, this is what people are getting mixed up, is that media was created for propaganda, for companies to put out, to program, television. It's all in the word itself. They're here to tell you their vision. The program is to pre-program your mind into whatever it is they say should be going on, whatever the laws and policies they feel should be right, whatever arguments they want you to argue over. So if you don't even have that as a basis of understanding, you're automatically falling right into their game plan when you're reading these articles or reading this or watching these narratives being played over and over again on TV. It starts to make you become desensitized to even try to understand what's really taking place. You just start thinking, like, I had a conversation with a guy at my job the other day, and I was talking to him about, the same situation, about how do you feel about being a black guy and that they're thrusting this Asian hate on our community specifically. And he was there with me on everything and understood, but then he summed everything up to Trump. He went back to Trump to, you see, people believing in Trump and all of this other stuff. And I said, man, people become so desensitized to realize to still be thinking about Donald Trump and believing that he created a separation, and not realizing that the media was the one putting the separation out. The media could have reported positive things that were taking place, but they wanted to continue to create a narrative and push a narrative that try to pin blacks against whites, Democrats versus Republicans, rich versus the poor. All those different dynamics, everybody's taking a side, and at the end of the day, we're all still losing. So
Yeah, I mean that narrative doesn't even make sense, really, if you think about it. I didn't, just as you explained it, because he didn't really get that. I mean, he did get the most African American votes ever from a Republican, but he didn't get that much. You know what I mean?
right.
And if the media is, if we're going to go by the media's depiction of what's going on and blame the African American community and say that that was because of Trump, how does that work? They're not, they weren't supporting Trump,
Right.
you know,
Right.
so and that's what I'm saying. Like, if you follow the stream of where these thoughts come from, it always ends in some place that is not what they're trying to portray. And and like I said, I want to reiterate, we are both not saying that hate crimes do not happen. Um, the statistics do show that it does happen. But when you look at the statistics, you have to understand when you see the head title in a news article, hate crime, what do we think about? What does the media want us to envision of actually happening in a hate crime? And I don't want to take anything away from a hate crime. I've never experienced. I don't know that I guess a white person could experience a hate crime.
Yeah,
But
right.
I mean, I've gotten in fights because I've been in areas I shouldn't be. But what I guess what I'm trying to say is, a hate crime could be vandalism. It
Yeah.
could be theft. It could be a lot of what are the other things that are involved in it? It could be kidnapping. It could be it's not just a violent crime like we're seeing with this elderly Asian person or the 8 Asian women from the massage parlors who got shot, and actually died. And they're saying that it's hate crime. And so we might picture the most violent thing when we see hate crime. But most of the crimes that are considered hate crimes are not violent. They're more vandalism, theft, different types of destruction of property is considered a hate crime. And
Yeah.
so when you look at, but they don't, I have been trying to find statistics to break down what hate crimes actually happen the most. And I can't find it on the FBI sites. I can't find it on the U.S. Justice sites. I can't find it anywhere.
Yeah, and see, and this is the thing. Like, I'm going to share this clip, like I was talking about earlier, where it's like they're trying to pin it to a specific group of people being African American, and and it's like they're pinning it only to the fact that it's happening. It has to be a physical attack. Like
Yes.
that's what is happening. Like it's a physical attack. But you want to create a narrative to say that, or not a narrative, but you want to have it in policy that a hate crime is A, B, C, D, all these different things. But in the media and how you want people to perceive it and see it, you want us to believe that it's only happening physically, like hurting them, and it's only happening from a specific group of people. Like ABC Nightline, if you check this out right here, ABC News pushed this dangerous anti-black propaganda, blaming the black community for crimes against Asians. Check this out right here, guys.
You need the black community to realize that that black people are hurting Asians and they need to speak out in their own community. We need the black community to realize that that black people are hurting Asians and they need to speak out in their own community. We need the black community to realize that that black people are hurting Asians and they need to speak out in their own community.
So you see that right there. Like, I mean, it's stuff like that we come across, and it's like, so why the black community? So now you want to just try to pin it all on us now that it's just the black. So what are you trying to? What narrative that
His
you're trying
car
to
was
get out there now?
found near
You know
Castiac
what I'm saying?
in
Like when you start
California.
thinking
There was
about,
like tire marks on the road, which indicates that Bryce could
hold on,
have
I'm sorry, I got some
floored
stuff
it
going
and
here.
Is that
What was
me?
that? That might be. Oh no, actually.
Is that
Sorry about
that's
that.
Facebook, I think.
That was it. Yeah, it was just going to the next page. But as you can see in that clip there, that they have. I mean, this is ABC. They're pushing this narrative, and that's what I said. We have to hold people to that. Okay, this is what you want to say is happening. Okay, we're gonna hold you to that. All right. Let's not now. You now see a lot of people. This show here, we want to bring what's happening in politically and what's happening the latest headlines, but also there's a little bit of a beyond belief factor here as well, because there is a such thing as crisis actors and actresses, and people don't even want to believe in that takes place as well. That the government will put people in plain clothes that look like me and you, everyday people, put them in positions to cause a stir, to start a coup, to do something to stir up the people, and then they sit back and just let it go from there. See, they'll start the fire and let the fire, and we'll just keep adding fuel to the fire ourselves. They don't have to. But people don't say, "Oh, you guys are getting too conspiracy. You're going too crazy." What do you get too crazy? No, you're just not thinking enough. You're not even trying to process and understand that that stuff does take place. You know what I'm saying? So even with these situations now, it's like I see this video and you're pushing it out about black people, and then you're saying this, but what about this right here? I mean, nobody's this situation right here that took place, and I have this article that I'm going to share that the Atlanta, yeah, that's his Atlanta spa shooting right here. The Atlanta spa shootings. Who are the victims? Now, nobody even wants to even try to not nobody's even talking about the guy that actually took place. The guy that actually was the one that took their lives in the shooting was Robert Long, the Gold Spa shooter. Nobody's even bringing him up or even talking about him being a part of that shooting. Was a white male named Robert Long that went in there and shooting and killed and shot and killed up everybody. But they want to say the Asian hate, the Asian hate, the Asian hate. Why can't it just be a facility that was owned by Asians, shot up, people killed, died? It was a horrible crime. Why do y'all want to create this narrative to continue to go on to say, now look at this incident that happened to Asians. Now this is over here is happening to Asians. This is I said, when this narrative continues to get pushed, now you're getting people riled up to start saying, okay, now the Asians are being attacked. That now you could go ahead and actually jump in, Jeff, because I know you had a story you wanted to share about a friend or something that you grew up with. That story that you wanted to share with people about the Asians, just to not let people think that we're
Yeah.
making light of anything. But I mean, we need to talk about this narrative as a whole of why are you guys now bringing up these situations that's taking place against the Asians?
So, I grew up in a pretty diverse area, and one of my really close friends was from Thailand. And peace out, Shalabong, if you're listening. He actually moved back to Thailand, and he's over there. He's teaching English in Thailand.
Oh, okay, nice.
And so one day we were all hanging out at a beach as teenagers, and we were, rowdy, drinking, that kind of stuff. And
Right.
all of a sudden, it was time for us to pack up. And as we were leaving, I guess this, I don't remember the whole story, but I remember leaving, and I remember him kind of coming behind us. He was always slow and getting his stuff together. And so he comes up and he was like, yo, he was mad. Like, he wasn't crying because he was, his feelings were hurt. He was crying because he was so angry. He wanted to fight. And he went on to tell us that as he was leaving, this old gentleman basically said, thank God the gook is leaving. And, so me and my friends are like, kind of looked at each other like, yo, let's go back then. Let's go fight this dude and stomp him out.
Wow.
So we were ready to go back, and he was like, nah, that's just gonna cause more problems. There was, there was cops there. It was at the beach, so it was an open place. We would have definitely got arrested doing something to an old man anyway.
Right.
So luckily he didn't let us do it. But I remember just kind of talking to him on the way home and seeing how he was just kind of, it was messing with his head. And I was just like, that was I've been in all different situations. I've been to parties with my friends where the parents are like, no, we don't want your type of people here, which we knew that was code for, we don't want black people in our house,
Right.
even though I wasn't black, but I'm part of that group.
Mhm.
I knew what they were saying, and we just either left or we caused ruckus and then left. But
Then right.
but so I've been in multiple situations where I've had been a part of outright prejudice, but that was the first time that I've really experienced prejudice against Asians, and I didn't even think of that. To be honest, I didn't think of it until that situation. Even growing up, everybody teased everybody.
Yeah. See, that's one thing I agree. Not teasing was something like if we had a Chinese kid or Asian kid in class, you probably gonna tease or something like that. But as far as us really, like if a bully was bullying anybody, like
Yeah.
black, white, it didn't matter, So it was never like specifically like nigga Asian, let's get him. Like what else? It was like, nah, bro. Like a lot of times it'd be a Asian to be cool. Like in our heads, we was like, yo, he's serious about school. Like
Yeah.
one guy said, you don't get cool points in the hood for beating up a nerd. You just don't. Like that's there's no cool points in that. Like sometimes you get one of those awkward dudes that they're just looking for some kind of just tension and just just to just be misbehaving. So you'll see sometimes you'll do some old quirky junk where they'll probably slap him in the head or something, but very rare would you see a dude like try to pick on a nerdy kid and come back to the pack like, yeah, son, I slapped and punched him. You're gonna be like, bro, that's weak, bro. Like, we actually need him, bro. Like, I'm trying to cheat on my math homework, like, you know what I'm saying, on my math test tomorrow. Like, you messing up, So I mean, that's why I said when I seen these articles and these positions coming out, I'm like, because Young Jeezy just got married, him and his wife, and I believe she's Asian, but in their wedding, not their wedding vows, but their registry, the wedding registry, they actually were collecting donations, and I think they collected up to like $50,000 to go towards this Asian hate foundation or something that she's creating, which is a good thing. But I'm thinking like, and they just had Meg Thee Stallion, a big time hip hop artist, she donated $50,000 to some cause for Asians as well. And I'm like, now there's this big donation pool and this big Asian movement. So I mean, now now Joe Biden. I listen, black people, this is what I gotta tell you, right? Joe Biden came in on your vote, right? And now he's already pushed. Oh, I didn't even share this. He's already pushed out an executive order for the Asians. I said, listen. This is why I try to tell people now. And see, no black people want to talk about this, but y'all want to push Biden. He don't put the immigrants and the Asians before you already. So I said, yo, I know, Jeff. I said, realistically, I said I'm laughing, but I'm just like, yo, dude, you gotta see the game. If you don't know the game, you're always going to get played like a fool. You know what I'm saying? When the next 4 years come up, and see what I'm starting to believe too, and what I be hearing from my inner circle and the things that I watch and see is that the Democrats are just looking for another voter base as well. I mean, if I could get the Asians in,
oh, that's what I was about to
Asian
say.
plight going on out here. Yeah, we could get a whole other, and now we could just run a gamut for the next 10, 20 years and be great and just, just continue to put our rule and our demonic rule over everything. But go ahead, I'll let you.
Well, they're the largest they're the largest non-white group in America. Growing group, the fastest non-white growing group in America right now. So they're gonna outpace you know, who they needed to pander to last voting you know, years,
Yep.
and they're going after, you know, the Asians, which, you know, that's what politicians do. That's, you know, that's what they all do. But
Yeah.
I know that one thing that the Democrats has always struggled with the Asians is the family values.
Right.
And Asians have a very, very strict mindset and very disciplined mindset of family values, and, you know, husbands, wives, they are very strong in their roles in the family.
Yeah.
And that doesn't always democratic beliefs and what they try to push don't always, their agendas don't always go against, it goes against strong family values, as, you know, a man of the house, have a woman, you know, stay home and not work, and let the man go out and work for the family. That's not really what they want to preach right now.
Yeah. No,
That's going
not
to
at
offend
all.
somebody.
Yeah.
I don't see how it does offend people, but it does. But, you know, but even, you know, the statistics, and the one point I want to kind of tie into this before we, you know, kind of wrap this section up, is that
Yep.
when they came out with the initial report saying that there's a rise in Asian hate crimes in 2020 and 2019, they started to come up in 2019 into 2020. 2020, they kind of dropped off a little bit because it was COVID. Nobody was out. It was very few, you know, there wasn't large groups. But the rise in every city that it did rise in, which I have a list of those
Yeah.
that I
Yeah.
could show you.
Yeah. Please. Definitely.
And
Again, this show is brought to you by Super Easy Player, a nice online TV platform, free TV.
well, let me
Go
just
on,
start with this
download,
article real quick.
check some stuff out for free.
And so this article came out June 1st, 2020.
Okay.
You got that up?
No, I didn't receive anything yet.
Let me see here. Oh, the browser. Let me see. All right, you see that?
Yep.
So this came out in June 2020. Asian American businesses looted across the U.S. during riots. And they list Minnesota. They go down and they kind of go through and show all different types of stores. You know, this was in all throughout Minnesota. And then they go into different articles. Again, another store. They go into Chicago, list a whole bunch of different stores and show pictures. They go into New York, right?
Yep.
And then I think they even have a video of and I don't know if I can show this video or if it's just a picture.
Oh, there you go. No, it's fine. Yeah, but so you mean to me this whole group of people are going to attack the Asians all together? It's random.
Yeah,
it's a riot.
They're just going through the streets. It's a riot.
Yeah, it's a riot.
And I do
And
wanted
one
to
thing I find
say, I mean, there's,
interesting. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, very few people of color in that picture, in that video. A lot of the rioters, look, more rioting. I don't know if you can see my little hand. Can you see where I'm pointing at or no? All right. Can you hear me? All right.
Go ahead.
I took it down, but I just wanted to kind of point out that those videos on there, it goes through city to city where those riots were. Chicago, LA, Portland. It goes to the last one was New York, Detroit, Phoenix. Okay. So I wanted to point out that very few of those rioters in those videos that was in New York were actually people of color. Okay.
Right. It was a mixture of people,
It
right?
was a mixture of people. You
Yeah,
can't say
blacks,
that it
whites.
was a group of African Americans going down to Chinatown to go, loot a Chinese store because they hate them, right?
Right. No, it had nothing to
Um,
do with it. Right. It was just
so now I'm going to show you the statistics for 2019 and 2020 for hate crimes against Asians.
okay. Cool. Yeah, let's pull that up.
Okay. All right. Can you see that?
Got you. Yep.
All right. So San Diego, basically total number of hate crimes against Asians, there was 30. 2020, 25. Those are total hate crimes. I'm sorry. So those are total hate crimes. And then over here to the right, it'll say anti-Asian crimes. So overall, these are actually how many hate crimes. And you see Boston, that was also another city that had rioting. Los Angeles rioting, New York rioting, Seattle rioting, San Jose rioting, San Francisco, Cleveland, Philadelphia, the same thing. Washington, I'm not sure if that was affected. I didn't really find anything. Actually, it's down from last year, but where else? Oh, Phoenix was rose by 1, right?
Yeah.
And so total across America, 120 in 2020. In 19, it was a total of 49. So that's where they're getting the 150 increase.
So, so these numbers I'm looking at right here at the very beginning, right here to the left, starting right here on the left side. These are the total hate crimes 2019
for the whole year. Yep. So there was 30 in San Diego. And just these cities. And so it was not across the America, but these are the major cities that had the hate.
428 in New York City.
Yeah. And there was only 265 in 2020.
So they're trying to make so okay, I see what you're saying. So they're just adding it all.
So between 19 and 2019, 2020, it went from 3 in New York City to 28. And so if it was a black thing, you wouldn't have seen 3 in New York. You know what I'm saying?
I know, right? That's just 3. Right. It would have been much.
And so what I'm trying to say is these numbers in 2020 correlate with all the rioting. They're directly because if you think about it, a hate crime, I don't think, let me see what's down here. This goes down to actually the cities. So you see New York popped up, Los Angeles popped up.
Yeah.
This gives a little bit different details. It's easier to see that. I mean, New York was going crazy last year during COVID. I mean, all of downtown New York is shut down.
But see, like I said, like for the people listening and watching, is the fact that the correlation that we're showing here is that the spike in these Asian attacks took place during these riots. And you think about last year around March when COVID first took place, this is where a lot of distress and everything and no, actually not even March, not even COVID. That was the George Floyd.
Yeah.
George Floyd, that took place, I believe, probably before that, February. Whenever that took place, that's what started everything rioting.
Floyd happened right at the end of 19, early 20.
Yeah. So,
right.
Yep. So with all of that taking place, of course, in the inner cities, there's a lot of Chinese restaurants, nail salons, and all of that. It's cool when they come in and buy everything up. But when the looting takes place, now we want to try to see a media wants to make the correlation of the looting being a hate crime, that they're going down there looting and messing stuff up for a hate crime against them. But it's not that. It's just you're in the way. That I mean, you just happen to be there. You're just an innocent bystander being taken advantage of. So when you see these numbers start off to be low in the years past and only rising, you got to take a look at the correlation of the events that are taking place at the time.
I mean, if you look at
2019,
you see
in 2020,
you see in 1996 in this graph, it was all the way up to 350, right?
Right.
It's dropped dramatically, all the way down. I mean, you think that it started to rise during 2016. Some people are saying because it's Trump and he was talking about China, talking about, all of
the Chinese flu and all of that stuff. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it wasn't hitting until he came into power at 16, right?
Yep.
So 17 he started, but he was talking about how China was, taking advantage of America, the trade deals, how bad the Communist Party was, how I mean, a lot of the rhetoric that he used was anti-Chinese.
Yeah.
But mostly focused on how America allowed that to happen and blamed politicians for it, not really China for it. I mean,
but that's the thing. But that's another narrative that they've created.
But they created it. Yeah.
That him saying China was doing this and allowing this and that had nothing to do with them being Chinese. See, that's the part that people are starting to lose. It had nothing to do with them being Chinese. It's the fact that this is a competition. And see, the narrative that the media is trying to create is that no, we're doing this because of their ethnicity or who they are. This is not. No, there's 10 Chinese restaurants on my on the main street up the road from me right now. 10 of them that I can go to. So if people are looting and doing these things and tearing stuff up, I mean, these are the places that they're hitting up, that they're messing up, that are going to be spraying and tearing up. Hey, it is what it is. But like I said, that and the nail salons, the hair stores, I mean, listen, that's what a lot of people are going, but that has nothing to do with nobody's drag. Listen, I don't even know where they stay. See, that's the part where it gets like, are there must be neighborhoods dedicated, gated communities dedicated just to Asians alone, because like Jeff, when you have an Asian neighbor or a Chinese neighbor, that guy over there is Asian. He's cool. Like you try to figure out. You know the crazy thing. This is so realistic. Just us being human. You'll start seeing, like, if I seen an Asian on my street, I'll just be wondering how how do they operate? How do they live? Like what do they grocery shop at? Like because I've never seen that life. I've never seen like a family of Asians, like the mother, the wife, and the two kids, like coming home, unpacking, the kid running out in the yard, or dad backyard barbecue. Like I never seen any of that. The culture when it of itself taking place. So for me, it's just more of an interesting thing. Like, oh, they're Asian. Okay, that's cool to kind of see how they actually live. It would never be, oh, I hate to get out of my country, you Asian or you Chinese person. It would never be that. But go ahead.
Yeah.
I see you got some more numbers and things up here as well.
No, well, I was just going to say, I think there's definitely different, just like any other culture,
Mhm.
there's Asians that have been here for quite a while and have assimilated and are
Mhm.
in, I would say, even when I looked at the test scores in Rochester City School District, when
Mhm.
they break it down to race, you will see that Asian students test dramatically higher, even in the city of Rochester.
Mhm.
You will see. I had a picture. I can try to bring it up, but I really didn't understand the whole concept of the graph. But you can see where Asians out their family structure, where there is a mother in the home,
Yeah.
and not divorced or single
Mhm.
mother, is the highest rate in America right now.
Mm.
And so they are the strongest family-based group in America.
That come from another country over here with the same values. And that's one thing I see. That graph that you showed earlier is also powerful in the fact, and it speaks to if Asians were being treated that way to the magnitude that the media is trying to push out there. If it was that way, then their country would be stepping in. There would be something happening on a broader scale that you would see that like in Asia or in China, somebody saying, "Hey, America, hey, what's going on over there?"
Yeah.
Because but that's not happening because they know, hey, if you're going to America, there's incidents, stuff takes place. I'm pretty sure you could look at some stuff that's taking place over there in Asia against another group of people that's probably living over there. They could
Well,
create
the
some
Muslims,
propaganda.
yeah. You look at what they're doing to the Muslim population in China. I mean, they're straight up exterminating them and then putting them in the ones that are assimilating. They're putting them into basically these rehabilitation camps and
Yep,
making
I
them
heard about that.
watch propaganda
Yep,
and
and
separating the women and the kids
forcing the
and
women to copulate with their soldiers.
yeah,
Like, see, these are real articles and these are real things that are taking place. That's just a whole nother show in itself. I
yeah.
said that right there, that the women are being forced to have babies with their soldiers so they can create like this super race. But people, I say you can't say that to the average Joe Schmo over here in America. They think you're just a propagandist conspiracy theorist.
Yeah. And you
You know
won't
what I'm
hear
saying?
Nike stepping up and saying we're not going to do business over there because they're not taking care of their Muslims or the African Americans that go over there to play basketball or sports, um, over there and helping in different industries, and how racist they are over there compared to what's going on over here. I
True.
mean, you won't see Coke speaking out against China. You won't see, for all, because outside of America, Coke is the number one soda in the world.
See?
Pepsi really isn't a worldwide thing. There's Coke in every country. There's not really Pepsi in every country.
Pepsi, yeah, Pepsi. I was talking with somebody about that recently about how big their reach is, and now the political reach with these companies now are just getting so deep and deep
Yeah,
inside of, into our society to where now a group like the Asians can actually, they can really just take over. And I mean, like I said, they already got the executive order. There's a lot of celebrities coming out speaking about it, speaking up against it. But when we look at that chart that you just showed, the numbers are dropping.
Mhm.
I said, so what is happening? But what's this chart that we have in front of
And
us?
so I just wanted to kind of, because I was bringing up, I should have brought this up first, but I want to just say that this is the kind of like the definition. This is on just a dictionary thing, and it kind of breaks down. It says hate crimes are based at least in part, so it's not the whole thing, but in part on the defendant's belief regarding the particular um, status of the victim. So hate crimes, hate hold on, hate crimes statutes were first passed by the legislatures in the 1980s. So as this goes through, it could be basically we tried to gauge it on what the people are thinking who are committing the crimes, but also if I own a store and I say, well, they're just doing it because I'm white and I own the store, then that could be considered, and they come in, break the windows, that's considered a hate crime.
Yeah.
So
See,
I'm guessing why they did it. They could have got, a nasty piece of pumpkin pie from me or whatever, and came
right.
back and smashed the windows. But I want to say it's a hate crime and make a big deal about it and get, obviously a lot of these properties, people are really trying to get money back because they're losing their livelihoods, especially, these Chinese restaurants, all these different types of, I mean, small business restaurants are going out of business in every city.
Yeah. Big
And you
time.
go into these areas where these riots are happened throughout the country. On top of that, COVID, and you're seeing people hurting. So any way that they can try to get money back and get compensated for what happened during those times, you know, everybody's claiming whatever they can. And so that's why I wanted to look at the claims. That's why I wanted to look at, what are people saying were the hate crimes? Was it somebody getting jacked up in the alleyway because the way they looked? Or was it actually, people just breaking in windows, breaking in, doors and stealing whatever they could because they saw something in that store that they wanted? And then and then the owner turns around and said, "Oh, they did it because we're Asian. They don't like us anyway."
Right. It's like,
So there's no clear definition. I mean, we look at, even what happened with what was that actor guy that made a claim saying that he got he got jacked up by two mega two white guys I think was it in Chicago or Detroit? Schmeely or Schmaley, I forgot his name.
was it a rapper you said?
He was on one of he was a TV or movie show. He was on one of those what was the show? HBO special. And when Trump first came into office, he said that two guys attacked him with
Oh yeah, I
MAGA
know what
hats.
you're talking. Smollett, Jesse Smollett.
Yeah, and they put a
Yep.
noose around his neck and everything else.
Yep. From
I mean, he
Empire.
basically lied and made it up. I'm
And
not
then
saying.
look at it now. But see, the thing about him too, Jeff, is that he's gay. See, and the fact that, like I said, he's gay and he made up a hate crime, and they just let it blow away in the wind.
Yeah.
I said, there's no he's not being dragged through the media. There's nothing that and he's black. I said, see, that's the thing about. I said, there's they say he's black, he's gay, and he lied about a hate crime. I said, and there was nothing to propagate, nothing behind it to say, hey, you making these false claims or what was your reasoning? There was nothing. There was pretty much like he got away with it. And I feel like America right now is just siding with whatever works for them. And the media right now, I think, you know what? I think the Asian hate is actually employed by the media to get better ratings, probably as well. Because you think since Trump has been gone, they've been losing out crazy on ratings. So we need a news stick pretty much to keep
Yeah.
beating something just to get the people riled up, new stories to come out. Because also what happens is if you keep putting it in people's minds, maybe they'll start doing it too. See, that's what
Sure.
you got to understand through programming. Maybe if I put the thought in a poor, low income person's mind, whether he's black, white, Indian, whoever it is, indifferent, don't matter. Maybe they when they see an Asian, they be like, yeah, you know, I do hate Asians. You know what I'm saying? And then we got another. I mean, you have to think about the science of things. I mean, the psychology that
Yeah.
that they like to use when it comes to media and how they go about pandering to a cause and making a cause bigger than what it should be. You know
I
what I'm
mean,
saying?
if you look at the disparity between um, races in college and funding in college and getting full scholarships, you will see that Asians are the largest minority group who collect um, full scholarships more
Mhm.
than any other race,
Yeah,
except for white. It's just because there's more white people
people,
in
right?
America. But if you look at minorities, you will see Asians out out I don't know I guess you want
Performing.
outperform, but they are, they focus on their education, and a college would rather have an Asian in their college than any other minority,
Yeah.
you know, even over white people, because
Mhm.
they know that they're going to pass, they're going to do what they need to do. I did a whole research, one of our research projects in my um, class was we talked about kind of ethics, and we talked about um, how should colleges, because there are some colleges that actually lessen their scores to get certain minority groups in,
Mhm.
because it's very difficult for somebody that lives in Rochester who goes to Rochester City School District to go to college and perform at a high level, because the city school district it's not good. It doesn't
Yeah, it's
and
trash.
so
And then you want me to go and compete
yeah, and
with
so is
people
it
that I haven't
fair?
even got the right.
And so what's happening is they were allowing they're lessening the standards for certain minority groups, and then not allowing as many white people to come into the colleges, and so
Mhm.
that they can be more diverse, which I'm not saying is bad. I'm just saying, but what's happening is we're the colleges are seeing a great dropout rate in minority groups because they
Yeah.
can't they just don't have the
The
skills.
skills. About time they get to college because you could just sign up for MCC, any city funded, college, community college, sign up for free. And then once you get there, you're like, oh, these people, this is for real. Like if I
And
really
now
want
that
to,
one of the big things that Biden's school czar, I don't know what the education person in his cabinet, there's a big talk about not doing tests anymore. No more testing.
oh my God, I'm
So they'll
done.
just go on grades and no more testing.
No more competition. Remember, we were talking about
Yeah.
competition. It's all leaving. I mean, you don't have to try anymore. Everything is just going to be handed to you, just going to be given to you. And it's all a part of that great reset as well. I mean, that's just another aspect to it as well.
Yeah. So, you
Bottom
look at
feeders.
so what I'm this is just my personal belief, is that the Democrats are gearing up to a big push for education and college education, but when all the statistics come out, it's really going to look bad on what's really happening. So they got to put them into a category that they are oppressed, that there's hate crimes. They have it just as hard as the black man from the ghetto who is trying to strive and provide for his family, when it's really not the same. They don't have the same plight.
Yeah.
And they're putting everybody in this kind of the same statistic of the African American struggle, and it's washing and really diluting what you and your group of family and everybody that your people really have gone through and are going through. And so they're linking it to that, and we talked about that before on here, where everything is being linked to that compared to looking at individuals and looking at their own struggles in American society and said, hey, how can we fix whatever is going against them right now?
Yeah.
Because the African American struggle is completely different than
From this.
even the Hispanic struggles.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, in different groups, but like I said, there's always got to be a because even with the Asians, it's like they get the executive order to start moving on whatever their issues is, but at the same time, their issues is against another group that actually helped you get in there, and they have a plight as well, but you're not trying to give them anything tangible to really help them, but then you're blaming the hate that this one group on. Like I said, like we told people, if you don't know, you don't know. And it just becomes something. It just becomes something that we just have to be mindful of. And even before this, I share with the people. I know you were talking about something that we can start creating to where we start letting people know, keep your eyes open, and and that's just one of the things that we want to just be mindful of what's taking place when it comes to this propagation of what's happening to certain groups of people. Not to minimize these things taking place and really happening to people, and we hope that people could band together and we could prevent these things from happening, but we cannot allow these isolated situations to become something that makes big news and becomes the running story when we have people over here still suffering from poverty, horrible education. Then we have other groups over here that are just suffering from just being a part of a system that is playing almost a caste type system, but just not calling it that. Whereas separating the poor from the rich, and the gap is getting bigger and bigger. I was going to try to touch on. I think we could probably save that the other part of the show I want to talk about for a whole nother show. I think with just talking about this Asian hate thing and the different things that correlate with it, I think this is just enough for a show in itself. And I said there's just so many parts to it that we really have to be mindful of, because what's the next thing? I don't want to be pinned against any Asians. What's funny, Jeff? Now we're talking about, there's a couple of Asians that we actually work up on the floors, and now since all this Asian hate, it's kind of like when I'm around them now, it's kind of like I feel this tension, not coming from them or coming from me, but just me and knowing what's going on. And I'm kind of like, hey, how you? I'm making sure like I'm not showing any hate, like I never had anything, but why am I even feeling that? So me being a conscious person and knowing that this is happening, I'm cool. I just something that I realized. Imagine how the average Joe Schmo who allows the media to control their thinking, who allows when they see an Asian, if they already have hate in them for other things, maybe they may see that Asian and then be like, yeah, I'm about to hit this Asian, or yeah, F that Asian. You're right, it is Asian hate over here. Yep. Or you may get that other person that's cool like me and you and may feel like they need to overcompensate, like, hey, can I help you walk across the street? Like you know what I'm saying? Like that's what they start to create. That's the type of atmosphere that they're starting to create with this narrative that they're pushing over and over again.
Yeah.
But for the most part, hey, shout out to Felton Pross back with us again, man. He's back on the scene. But Yeah, I mean that's just something that I like I said with this conversation, man, it's just another it's a keep your eyes open
Yeah.
just for what's next, what's next to come out of the bag, what's the next cat that they're gonna pull out of the bag, and how is this all gonna correlate and tie into what's happening in today.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that can tie into um, keep your eyes open and try to, because the rhetoric against China, um, you'll hear the president and his office, who's in right now, blast Russia, blast any country, but they have not yet said anything negative against China, right?
At
None of
all.
them at all. But I'm going to show you this article, and this is just keep your eyes open.
Okay, cool.
There's and just sit back and kind of watch what's going on, because there's a lot of people who are standing up against mainstream media and the government, and they are suing the government behind the scenes. We don't know about it, but what they're doing is they're suing the government for information, and it's information the government doesn't want to leak out.
Yeah,
But from the Freedom of Information Act, they have to give it to you. But you have to sue the government to get it.
in order to get it.
In order
Wow.
to get it. And
Wow.
so there's a group called Judicial Watch. And
Oh, I like them. Yeah, I follow them on Instagram as well and on Twitter.
and so I'm going to show you two quick articles of something just to keep your eyes on open and really look at just kind of watch out in the news and say, hey, I heard about this. Let me dig a little bit deeper into what's going on, or why are they talking bad about this? And because some of this stuff happened a while ago, and a lot of things, what happened was a lot of things happened during Obama's era that we didn't know happened because he was such a dynamic leader, and the media was for him. I mean, he couldn't
Yeah,
do
so
anything wrong,
yeah, they was gonna cover it, yeah, make
and
him
they
look like
and
the
they
best.
didn't really, you couldn't really question anything that he was doing.
Not at all.
And
Not at
so
all.
now by suing the government and getting this information, now we're seeing where these things started. Then when Trump came into power, they kind of dissipated because he wasn't going for it. And now that Biden is in power, they're starting to come back and kind of rearing their heads back, popping their heads out of the ground like, can I come out?
Yeah.
And so the first one I'm going to share is crazy. And we're going to see they sued the FDA to get this information. And it says the Judicial Watch obtained additional records of the FDA. Can you see that?
Yeah.
The FDA purchases of fetal tissue for humanized mice project. Agency wanted fresh shipped on wet ice fetal organs. Okay.
What?
Humanized mice.
Humanized. Oh my gosh. What is this?
So
My
they're
mind is like,
basically using human DNA and cells
well, what they've
to
been
create
doing.
mice.
Yeah, human DNA.
Yeah. Right. So
Yeah.
so now they got all this information, and you could even go in, you could see the emails. They obtain the emails from different people. And uh, so you're going to start to see where Trump shut this. This was, if you remember, they had all of those private investigators go in and caught different people from Planned Parenthood,
Parenthood, yeah.
and they caught them selling fetal tissues, which is it was against the law. They were doing that all through the Obama era, and they knew that they were doing it and just allowed it to happen because there is a law saying that they can't do that. And so all of this was happening all throughout. So, October, it just kind of goes through, and I'm not going to go through it all, but basically talks about all of the emails, and you can click in this article. I wish, we're going to try to have an area where we can put our articles and you can go back and look at them. If we can, we're going to try to do a little bit better for our listeners. But this is something to look into and see what is actually going on. Because this right here, they're basically promoting abortion for the sale of the organs,
to do scientific research.
And so who do they promote? Who promotes who are they promoting? What groups of people have the highest amount of abortions? Where are the abortion centers? Who has the highest amount of abortions in America? What group does that? And why does that happen? There's a lot of stuff that goes into the genocide of unborn babies. And, whether it's a moral issue or not, we can look at it as a race issue. We can look at it as a destruction of a race. We can look at it in multiple different facets.
Yeah, but I definitely know that it was created. Whatever it is, it's by design.
Exactly.
At the end of the day, we know it's by design.
And so just keep your eyes open for more to come on that. And then the next article that I came across, just to kind of touch up on what we've been talking about with the Asian community. And so what happened was Judicial Watch is suing the OPM for records on agency personnel classes, seminars in China, breached of the OPM data. And what they did was our government sent over a whole bunch of people to China to do a training session in 2004.
Right.
14. And from the Chinese said, come over, we'll train you in business, we'll do a great job. Well, actually, I think it was in between 2009 and 2012. But anyway, they brought them over, they gave them a seminar, and then stole all of their information. And basically the breach of information that the Chinese government stole, and it affected some 22 million Americans. And nobody's talking about it. And that happened back then. And so when Trump was saying that Chinese government does not have America's best interests at heart and they are stealing our information, these are the things that he knows that happened, but we didn't know, and he's not telling us to go do, to go find this stuff, but this group is suing them and coming up with this information. And so this was hushed. Nobody said anything because they wanted to perpetuate that China is good, China's not bad, as they were just stealing whatever they wanted from us.
Well, I believe that's one of the things too. When you become president, you become privy to some information.
Yeah,
that the average man and woman don't know nothing about. So you just imagine some of the things that Trump probably was privy to, and knowing that he wasn't going to play ball. That from day one, they was like, man, he's really going to mess up everything that we already had in order once he sees this information. So that's why a lot of times when you seen him making so many candid statements about what was really taking place financially in trade deals or in any war talks or anything that had to do with our country and just putting us in a better position, they will always attack that and show, oh, look at him just talking all wild and crazy what type of president has no decorum? Well, he's just talking to the American people, because you see, what was realized was that we are losing at an all-time high. And the fact that we're losing, and even to the point where he was always talking about the media being on fake news. I said the news is constantly perpetuating lies, narratives. People, like I tell people all the time, just to reiterate, the news, information, TV was not created to benefit you. It was only created to benefit the power structures, people that own the corporations, people that own these cities, that run these towns and these neighborhoods. That's all it is. Why do you think the news? I tell you, when you think the news come, we know people dying. That could be at the end of the news. You know what I'm saying? Like, tell me some good news. I said nobody ever tells me news that's good news. And anytime anybody says to you, "You seen the news?" or you watch the news, it's always a just like that. It's always that kind of tone. You seen the news? You watch the news? Oh, you haven't heard what bad done happened now. It's never like anything that can really benefit us to make us better. So people, you got to continue to remember. Stop being programmed.
Yeah, so just wanted to kind of blast that out. We're gonna continue to just hand out some at the end of each show, just some quick articles like that would kind of lead you into some things to look at.
I like that. That was real
Yeah.
smooth, and I guess that's something for me to even looking more to. I said I didn't know they were getting, but like I always knew it was getting crazy. But when you start seeing the articles of how crazy they are, or what they're actually doing, it's like I got to look into that now. Oh my gosh, they're humanizing men and women. So
I mean, they the in the first article about the fetal organs, in the emails you'll see, if you find it, you can go to their website, the Judicial Watch official website. They have it, whatever they whole bunch of stuff that they're working on. But when you go there, you can actually read the emails. In one email, they were mad because FedEx was radiating all of their boxes to make sure that bugs and different things were nothing was alive and in the boxes,
right,
and
ruining
so they
everything.
were mad because somebody in FedEx actually radiated the organs as they were coming through FedEx, and they couldn't use them anymore.
Oh, see,
And so you see the email saying, "I told these stupid people at FedEx not to do it," and he basically, a nasty email back to the people that wanted the organs, saying, "I'm sorry, FedEx messed up. We'll send you some on ice right away. We'll make it work. We'll make it better," kind of thing.
wow,
And they're talking about these parts like they were just sending sneakers. You know what I'm saying? Not body parts. They were it just the tone that they were using was very scary. It just makes you think there was no value to those organs because they believe
yeah.
it wasn't a life.
Just so sad, man.
Yeah.
Well, you heard it first here, people, on Gorilla Truth. Like I said, our show is gonna be segmented a little bit more better. Like I said, today we just talked more about the Asian hate situation. If you run a video back, you can see how we all led into that. And towards the end of it, we'll be doing a little piece on it. Keep your eyes open. And Jeff shared that with you about the humanized mice and how they're bringing over these cell organs and stuff like that over. And it's just so much crazy stuff that takes place. We try to pack it in as best as we can. So continue to follow us. We ask that you like, share, and subscribe to us, and just help us do the work. Send us articles and links and things as well. If you're watching, send it through Messenger. You can send it through an email. We have it down there at the bottom. So yeah, continue just to be a part of the movement. And like I always say, just stay true and stay true to you. And we out.
We out. Peace.